Hey guys, Kyle here from 9.9 Comics with Chris and Kyle, and welcome to Collector's Choice, a new program for collecting comics for beginners. We are going to show you how to handle comics. We're going to show you which comics to choose, whether it be variants, whether it be which issue, even if it's for a series you're not reading. It's important to keep up with storylines, even for comics you're not interested in, if you're interested in having a good collection in the future, because you will care. So, today we are going to start out with spines. Spines is the most important part of a comic. Basically, it's the first thing that always is wrong with the comics. First thing you always want to look at next to corners, but we'll go over that later. We actually have two identical Walking Dead issue 163s to show you today. We have one with spine damage, one with minimal spine damage. It has a little nick that I saw before, and I'll show you how to catch that. But notice how I'm holding it is my hand's near the spine, but it's actually an illusion. I'm not touching the spine. You never want to touch the spine. You always want to hold the comic by basically clamping the comic from the front and back cover, and always remember to wash your hands. And a little trick we have over at 9.9 Comics is to use hand sanitizer and wait a few minutes and have it dry out your hands, and you will never have a smudge. That or wear gloves, but I have an issue with gloves because it's fabric and it can kind of catch a corner and pull it. It's all user preference, but hand sanitizer, guys. So let's actually get a closer look at these comics, and I can show you how to look for spine damage. All right, so here are our two identical Walking Dead number 163s, and now to the untrained eye they're identical, but if we actually get a closer look at these, you'll actually notice that this one is a far lesser grade than this one, and it's very, very small things you need to look for. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, guys. So the first thing we're gonna do with our damaged copy, we have our damaged copy here. We are going to do what we call the thumb test. However, I'm not gonna be using my thumb because it's at an angle to show you how to do it. You can use any finger really. You're just feeling along the spine of the comic for any damage. You want to do slow and kind of light. You don't want to damage. I feel something right there. And there's another one right here. And I think that's really the only two that I feel. One right here and one right here. And now what we're going to do is flip this comic around. You got to be very careful. And do the same thing on the back. Feel for it, feel for it, feel for it. I'm not really feeling anything on this back side. Sometimes when it's pinches, they go on both the cover and the back, but this one has more manufacturer defects to where it only really messed up the cover. And yeah, I'm not really feeling anything other than the staples on this side. So our back cover spine is intact. All right. So after we've done our thumb test with our index finger, let's now zoom in, and I will show you now. After you've felt it, you want to take a closer look. You want to get in on it. And now, if you're unfortunately farsighted, I'm sorry, but get a nearsighted friend, get a comic book store owner to take a look for. I'm sure they'll be happy to help you out. So now we are going to take a closer look at the comic. We are going to slowly move up the spine of the comic until we see any creases, including the crease that we saw earlier. Looking good. Oh, there we go. There's one. That's the one that I felt with my finger with the thumb test. That's gonna be a point off right there. Keep going up. Going up. There is the second one that we felt. Now I'm pretty certain that those are the only two nicks that we have, but we're just going to complete it just because we want to do it the right way. You want to keep scanning because sometimes there are little ones that that you can't feel with your finger, and they're just easier to see with the broken paint that is showing. But it looks like we're good with those are the only two defects that we have, except for one other thing you want to look out for that people miss a lot is ink smudges or dirt smudges along the spine. The spine is the tallest part of the comic, so it sticks out the most. If you notice, right here next to the staple is a dirt smudge. Now that can happen for a variety of reasons, but most importantly is it's there, and you do not want to get this comic graded because of that. So there's two things that we are talking about today, and that would be the creases and the smudges on the spine. And those are pretty much it that we can see on this front side. Now we are going to want to flip it around and do the back side, because remember, I didn't feel any before, but we're going to do a second look. Alright, now we are looking at the back side of the comic, looking at the spine on the back of the cover to make sure it doesn't have any unfeelable nicks that we missed on our thumb test. Go slowly up the spine of it. And you might see like a hair from paper sticking out here and there. No one's really worried about that. This is a macro lens, so you're really getting close. Stuff that they're really not going to be worried about when they're grading it. But you will see the creases that we don't want, in which we're not seeing any right now. It passed the thumb test. It passed the crease test. However, there is one thing that I do see here that is a little that kind of passed my scan first, which was a reader's crease, which is right here. It's on the inside of the spine, and it's from folding the cover over, not exactly creasing it, but just enough to do a crease. Now it's a lot easier to see from this angle, but you can see right here where it's kind of raised along the entire edge of it. That's a reader's crease. Now you can get this from like reading it, or if it's sitting on a big stack of comics and it's the spine's off and another spine rests on it, it'll cause that as well. But that's another thing that graders are going to look for when you're choosing a comic. So I think we've gone over the spine on our one that we knew to be bad. Let's look at our one that we know to be in better condition, so I can show you what a good comic looks like. Alright, so here's our better copy. First things first, let's do our thumb test with another finger. Going along, going along, going along. I think I felt something. Let's go back one more pass. Going along. I'm feeling something right here in this area, right at this zombie's wrist. Moving along. The rest of the front is clean. Let's flip it around. And the safest way that I like to do it is you kind of want to hold down the front of the cover like this and just come under the spine. I know we said never touch the spine, but you always want to be very careful, kind of get under it, because if you do any other side of the comic, what will happen is that you'll bend the actual pages. It's actually the safest way to pick it up. All right. Gently set it back down. Now, go along the spine. And I'm not really feeling anything. You might feel something on the staples. Don't let them fool you. And this feels clean. Now let's get a closer look and do our visual inspection. Alright, here is the front side of our better condition comic. Now let's run up the spine of it for our visual inspection. Let's find that one crease that I found on my finger, because I know I at least felt one. Looking good. Looking good. No, I did say it was in the zombie's wrist, so let's go back down for another scan once I reach the top. Looking good. Now what you want to see is like white lines streaking inwards, and that is actually the paint breaking and showing the paper underneath, but we don't have any of that, so we're looking good. Now let's go back to the wrist where I know I saw a crease, and right there. It's hard to see, but we found it with our passing over test with our thumb, with our index finger rather, and it's right there. It's really hard to see, but you can definitely feel it. And they will find that in CGC, and it will affect your grade. So that is the front. Let's do one more pass over the back, and I believe we're in good place. But I don't see any, like you see how this one doesn't have that black smudge like our other one did. There's no black smudge from who knows what it could be. Could be ink from a comic on top of it. Could be dirt from the warehouse. There's no way to know. All we know that it's bad. Here's the back of our good comic. I'm just going to run up it. Now it's harder to see where there's lighter paint, like light blue or white, but we don't have any creases there. And I didn't get anything on my thumb test, which is a good sign. Visual test is looking good so far. And there's a little dent there and you kind of want to stay away from those. It kind of didn't show up on the thumb test, but those can hurt your grade depending on how bad they are, how noticeable they are. That's usually from grabbing a book by the spine, which you do not want to do. And that's it on the spine. That's a corner. We'll get on that later. We don't want to talk about that right now. But this is a good book, guys. It's 10 times better than the first one we went over. So if you were out of these two comics, this is the one you would want to get graded. And there you go. That is how you look for defects on your comic book spine. This has just been an episode on spines, but next time we are going to go over corners on The Collector's Choice. Remember to like and subscribe, comment, all those good things. And always remember to catch 9.9 Comics with Chris and Kyle every week, where we get the top picks for the comics of the week. Thanks, guys.